Welcome to Sinful's Horror Stories. If you're new to my channel, please be sure to subscribe now so you don't miss out on anything in the future. Please be sure to leave a like on this video as it helps my channel perform at a much higher level. If you would ever want your story featured on an upcoming video, send it to the email in the description box below at the end of the video. Sit back, relax, and enjoy while I scare the hell out of you. I'm a 34-year-old female, and I was born and raised in the rural area of Missouri. This event happened back in 1999 when I was 12. Being the youngest of 4 children with 2 brothers and 1 sister. My oldest brother was 11 years older than me at the time. My mother and I were pretty much living with it being just her and I in my home. My brothers and sister moved out of the house and were living on their own. Now, our house was in a very rural area with our neighbors being almost 1 mile away from us. We had a long driveway with our double-wide mobile home. Our 3-story house burnt down to the ground in 1992. We decided to keep the land and just move a double-wide trailer back beyond from where the farmhouse once stood. My bedroom was at one end of the trailer, facing out towards our driveway with a large bay window at what they call the tongue of the trailer. I have pretty thick green curtains hanging over the huge window and keep them shut all the time unless it's summer, but with it being winter at the time, I kept them closed. At this time of the night, I was getting dried clothes from the dryer. I picked out clean pajamas and I was getting ready for bed when the incident happened. I've always taken showers usually in the mornings before school, but here lately to save time I had gotten used to showering at night. I had just got out of my shower and was in my towel. I have a huge mirror that I had taken from my dresser and put it on the floor to get better looks of my outfits and whatnot. So I kneel down in front of the mirror, grab my brush and start brushing my hair, something I've done 1,000 times before, but almost immediately I noticed something move out of the corner of my eye through the mirror. I see a set of deep blue eyes staring back at me in the reflection of the mirror. I scream at the top of my lungs while not breaking eye contact with whoever's looking at me through my window. The creepiest thing was, the man didn't break eye contact with me at all. He's staring at me through my window and my mirror as I'm staring right back. After my scream leaves my mouth, the man looks down and then looks directly back up at me, and I run out of my room and yell at my mom from the kitchen that I'm calling the cops because someone was just looking at me through my bedroom window. The cops, of course, take time to get here, and the man was long gone. They come take my statement and say they're going to go around the house and take a look at everything and tell us if they found anything. And oh boy, did they find something. The deputy approached my mother and starts to tell her in kind of a hushed voice that there's a path leading from my window to the road, and it looks as if it has been used often. My mother asked, "What do you mean used often?" The deputy tells her to come back and take a look. We all go outside, and to my absolute horror, there was a trail just like he said, from my window out to the main road and path. The path was used so much that the grass had stopped growing. It was now a small dirt path. If you weren't looking for the path, you would have missed it with all of the weeds and brush growing around it, so there wasn't much the deputies could do. They said they would have a car come and spotlight the area throughout the night, which did kind of make me feel a little better at first. The worst part is, we had dogs outside that would bark at a leaf being blown across the driveway, and they didn't once bark at this person. Why? Did they know him? Did he give them something to shut them up or what? Regardless, the guy was never caught. I immediately moved out of that house and moved in with my great-grandma not far away, but I felt much safer. To this day, I have nightmares about just how long that man was watching me, but I swear for as long as I live, I will never forget those deep blue eyes staring right back at me. A little backstory. I'm a 20-year-old short, petite female working at Subway, and I can't help but be nice to anyone, even if they creep me out. I feel bad usually. About a year ago, we had this 35 to 40-year-old guy who would come in every day for lunch. He was fascinated by my stretched ears and few piercings I had on my face, and always asked questions. He would sit down after I rang him out and watch me from his table for 2 hours non-stop, just staring at me while I helped other customers. This goes on for about 2 weeks. Every day he would ask for my number, saying he has plugs and tunnels he wants to give me, and see me wearing them in my ears, and I always politely declined. One day I'm all alone in the store because my manager had to run to the bank. We were really slow that day, so I was just in the back room messing around on my phone. I heard the door chime, looked up, and yet no one was there. Then I saw the man walk past the front of the store really quickly, like he was in a hurry. The store phone rings. Me. Thanks for calling Subway. How can I help you? Him. This is a girl with the nice ears, right? Me. Yes, who is this? Him. Are you alone in the back room right now? Are you working by yourself? At this point, I really got creeped out and knew it was him. I hung up and texted my manager the situation so she would hurry back. He called again, this time asking me even weirder questions, like what I would do with him in a room with the door locked, if I had a boyfriend, and why I was playing hard to get. My manager gets back and I tell her everything. In the middle of the lunch rush, he calls again. This time my manager answers, and to this day she never told me what he said, but the look on her face made my spine shiver. She told him if he called again or showed up here, she would call the police. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 1 week later, I'm clocking out and getting ready to walk to my car parked in the front when I look outside. I see him standing by my car and looking inside of it. I was an idiot and left a back door unlocked. I watched the man crawl inside and shut the door. The creep was trying to hide in my fucking back seat and do God knows what to me when I got in. My manager locked the front door of our store and called the cops. When they arrived, they had to pretty much drag him out of my car, and he was arrested. On him was a butcher knife, rope, and a rag with chloroform on it. If I hadn't looked up when I did, I would probably be dead right now. When I first moved into a new place in a new town, I had left home one evening and accidentally left my garage door open. I texted my husband to tell him so he would go home and close it. He gets there and tells me that it's not open. That's strange, but okay. The next day I'm taking my trash out and my neighbor was outside. He introduced himself and told me that night before he noticed me leaving, and I left my garage door open. So he went inside and closed it, and let himself out through the front door, only locking the doorknob locked. Then he sent me a Facebook friend request. I'm assuming he looked at my mail on the counter to find out my full name. After this, he wrote me poems and taped them to my door, left gifts on the front porch, made crazy Facebook posts about a woman he was in love with who was forbidden, because I'm married. One Saturday night, I came home really late, and I was finishing my cigarette outside of my garage before going in. He was sitting outside in a chair, blistering drunk. He approached me and started talking about someone named George. I had no idea what he was going on about, and confused, I asked him if he had company. He walked into the garage and came out with a box containing George. George was his stepdad and he was dead. The ashes were in the box. He caught wind of the trip I was going on via Facebook and invited himself along. I politely explained that I'm married and all of his wacky behavior was unacceptable. A few days later, I'd gone on a walk with my husband, and we left through the garage, leaving the door open. He messaged me on Facebook and told me he had a gift for me in my garage. When I got back, I found a bunch of camping gear inside a giant Easter egg. After I got back from the trip, he showed up at our door at midnight, drunk and banging on the door. We moved shortly after. I've had a couple of stalkers. The one that freaked me out the most was in another country, and we never met. We met on a website for pen pals. He lived in another country. Our conversations were great. He developed feelings really quickly. I liked him very much in the beginning. Our relationship became sexual in nature. We made plans to meet. I was concerned with some things I considered red flags, confirmed by my friends and family. I decided to back off a bit, and he didn't like that at all. I was super beta, trying to keep the peace without hurting or losing a friend. I started lying to him out of fear. He'd interrogate me for hours about where I was going, who I was with. If I went to a party, he'd both ask if I slept with anyone, and then say he kind of hoped I had, so I could tell him how the sex was. It was getting to be too much. I was no longer interested in him romantically or sexually, but I would still engage with him sexually because I was afraid of him. In the meantime, I met and fell in love with my current significant other, who was absolutely wonderful. The stalker was obsessed with everything about our budding relationship and wouldn't leave me be. I realized finally that the stalker made me feel disgusting and that I should not be involved with someone who I was afraid of. I told him I didn't want to hear from him ever again. He ignored me. My significant other contacted him and told him to leave me alone. He tried to interrogate my significant other about the nature of our relationship, but my significant other shut him down. I blocked him on everything. I realized that he was still reading my blog, so I deleted the entire thing. He made new email accounts and Facebook accounts constantly. He relentlessly Googled me and my significant other, to the point that our names were amongst the top searches on multiple search engines. When he elicited no response, he started sending my significant other screenshots of the times we had been sexual. I was mortified, but since I had been 100% honest with my significant other, it didn't break us up. My significant other was obviously incensed and disgusted. We never responded to anything he sent. To my knowledge, he still creeps on us, but after that, everything mostly stopped. I know he's thousands of miles away, and I've had stalkers who were in my immediate area, but he still scares me the most. I was only about 14 when this happened, and the dude who was stalking me was a few years older. Let's call him Tom. I used to compete in equestrian events, and Tom's mom was the president of one of the clubs I belonged to. His mom dragged him along to an event one day, where he must have seen and taken a liking to me. I don't remember actually talking to or even meeting him that day, but he took it upon himself to look through the club membership forms to find my number. Tom called me every single day, multiple times for months on end, twice on weekdays and 3 times on weekends. I politely told him that I wasn't interested, but he was convinced that he would make me like him through sheer will alone. I stopped taking his calls after he started threatening to find and beat up any male I happened to mention, be it family, friend, or boyfriend, and would fly into a rage at the slightest thing. Sometimes he would call just to scream at me about something that happened at school that pissed him off. He started to find out which events I was going to attend by going through the entry forms his mom was sent, and he would show up and follow me around all day demanding to know why I didn't want to date him. He went as far as grabbing me and shaking me when I would try to ignore him on the ground, or grabbing at my horse's reins if I was mounted. My mom and I asked Tom's mom to stop bringing him to events, as I was starting to get scared, and she would accuse me of leading him on and acting like I was too good for her son, when I should be considering myself lucky that someone like him would even look twice at someone like me. He eventually stopped when one of my brothers came to an event and stood over him while telling him to leave me alone. Thank you guys for watching and listening to the very end of the video. If you would like to be featured on an upcoming video, email my email in the description box below. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing now and sharing the video with family and friends. Until we meet again, thank you again for watching. Stay sinful.